Hello and welcome to our ANZAC Day quiz, where we honour the brave souls who served. Join us in commemorating their sacrifice and testing your knowledge of this important part of history. What does ANZAC stand for? Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. What song is played either by a trumpet or bugle during the ANZAC service? The Last Post. Which bugle call follows the last post and the 1-minute silence? Ravali. What red flower is considered the flower of remembrance? The red poppy is a symbol of remembrance of those who died or suffered in wars, conflicts and peacekeeping operations. Canadian Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae first described the red poppy, the Flanders poppy, as the flower of remembrance. Apart from the poppy, what plant holds special significance on ANZAC Day? Rosemary. It's an ancient symbol of fidelity and remembrance. Why is rosemary a plant popular on ANZAC Day? The aromatic herb grows wild on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey. Soldiers traditionally wear sprigs of rosemary as a symbol of remembrance on ANZAC Day or Remembrance Day. What year did World War I begin? (1914). By what name is World War I otherwise known as? The Great War. ANZAC soldiers fighting at Gallipoli were fighting soldiers from which country? Turkey. What is the Victoria Cross? The highest British Commonwealth award for conspicuous bravery in the face of the enemy. When did the first ANZACs land at ANZAC Cove? At 4:28 a.m. on Sunday the 25th of April 1915. How many ANZAC soldiers embarked in World War I? (430,731). How many ANZAC soldiers were killed in action in World War I? (76,697). There were 350,808 casualties, which were people captured, missing, wounded or killed. Which nations formed the Allies in World War I? Great Britain and her empire, including Australia, New Zealand and Canada, France, Belgium, Russia and the USA. Which French village was liberated by Australian forces and holds an annual ANZAC Day service in gratitude? Villers-Bretonneux. Where were the ANZAC forces based before the Gallipoli Campaign? Cairo, Egypt. When ANZAC forces arrived at ANZAC Cove, what unexpected thing caused confusion when they landed? The beach was very narrow, so they had to land on a front of 750 yards. Jack Simpson Kirkpatrick, a stretcher bearer, saved over 300 men in Gallipoli with what animal? donkey. He came ashore during the ANZAC landing of the 25th of April 1915 and was killed less than 3 weeks later. Simpson used donkeys to transport the wounded men from the fighting in Monash Valley down to the dressing or the first aid station at ANZAC Cove. What was the name of Simpson's donkey? Duffy. Fill in the gaps. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them, lest we forget. Where is the unknown soldier's final resting place? The Australian War Memorial in Canberra. The Gallipoli Campaign was fought for control of which strategically significant stretch of water? The Dardanelles. Who was the commander of the ANZAC forces at Gallipoli? General Alexander Godley. Who was Kemal Ataturk? The commander of the Turkish 19th Division during the Gallipoli Campaign. How many Victoria Cross awards were awarded to Australian soldiers during the Battle of Lone Pine? 7. How long did the Gallipoli Campaign last for? Over 8 months. Life in the trenches got worse as the weather got warmer. What was the most common disease affecting the soldiers? Dysentery. Almost all the soldiers had some form of dysentery due to lack of sanitation. Latrines were usually very unhealthy and the sick soldiers had to use them 10 to 20 times a day with no toilet paper. Jaundice, cardiac disorders and typhoid were also widespread. When was the only 8-hour truce made? May 24th. 4,000 Turks attacked on May 19. Their losses reached 10,000 in just a few hours. 3,000 Turks lay in no man's land. The stench was so great that many soldiers got sick, so a truce was made on May 24 to bury the dead. The truce changed the attitude of soldiers on both sides, since they had a chance to see their enemies up close. Who was the last surviving ANZAC? Alec Campbell, the final surviving participant of the Gallipoli Campaign, died of pneumonia on the 16th of May 2002, aged 103. Who planned the Gallipoli landing in World War I? Winston Churchill. When did World War I end? At 11 a.m. on the 11th of November 1918. What was the AE2? The Australian submarine AE2 played a dramatic role in the Gallipoli Campaign, penetrating the Narrows and sinking an enemy cruiser. She was eventually scuttled by her crew after suffering battle damage. The crew members were captured and spent the next 3.5 years in a Turkish prison camp. 4 died while prisoners. What is bully beef? Bully beef is the name of canned meat given to soldiers in the field. In World War I, the ANZACs filled the empty cans with nails, bits of metal and gunpowder to make bully beef bombs. What is the name given to the service that occurs in the early morning of ANZAC Day, where people remember the troops? The dawn service. The ANZACs at Gallipoli were all volunteers. True or false? True. Unlike the other countries engaged in World War I, conscription was not introduced in Australia. All the Australians who fought in World War I were volunteers. In New Zealand, the Military Service Act conscription came into force on the 1st of August 1916, after the Gallipoli Campaign. What is the origin of the last post? First published in the 1970s, the last post call originally signalled merely that the final sentry post had been inspected. The camp was secure for the night. In addition to its normal garrison use, the last post call had another function at the close of the day of battle. In which 1916 Western Front battle did the ANZACs fight in World War I? In the Battle of Somme, the ANZACs lost the second greatest number of men in relation to the number of fighting. The casualties were higher than at Gallipoli. In recent years, it has become more common for the children to wear their deceased relatives' medals on ANZAC Day. What is the custom concerning the wearing of such medals? The medals should be worn on the right breast, because only the original recipient of the medals are entitled to wear them above their hearts on the left breast. Gallipoli, The Scale of War is the groundbreaking exhibition telling the stories through the eyes and words of 8 ordinary New Zealanders who found themselves in extraordinary circumstances. Which New Zealand museum is it housed in until ANZAC Day 2025? Te Papa in Wellington. How did ANZAC biscuits come about? It has been claimed that these biscuits were sent by wives and women's groups to soldiers abroad because the ingredients did not spoil easily and the biscuits were designed to travel well over several weeks at sea. So the recipe didn't feature eggs, golden syrup or coconut.